There we go. How we doing, everybody? DommyGun and Rici back in action. The grinders are back. Who Banging Sports Talk is back, and we are going to be doing Saturday mornings, 10 o'clock a.m. Light it up, back again. The show that we started off with years ago, we decided to come back with Light It Up. We always like the show originally, and I'm going to be working on getting him back with at least, every once in a while. I know he's busy, but my good friend, old-time friend, great baseball capper, Noli Knows, we started this a long time ago. We were capping early in the morning. We were doing Light It Up after that, and it was a lot of fun. All pre-COVID. Then who the hell knows what happened after COVID, but we're all back in action again. Who Banging is now... Who Bang... Oh, no, we don't want to do that, all right? We want to say, okay. How come these computers always decide they want to restart at the worst time? That's unbelievable. Anyhow, Who Banging is back. You guys, we've been around for a long time. This has always been like a hobby of ours. We never really stepped it into the next gear. And, when we were ready to step into the next gear, like I mentioned COVID before, that happened. And we all we didn't know what to do, how to do it, which direction to go in. And it's taken some time. But, our Who Banging crew has always been together. We've always been a team, really more like a family. And this year we finally decided to step it up. We started to make a go at this. And you guys know who the team is, and you'll be seeing a lot of us. Starting June 1st, there'll be a lot of things on Who Banging Sports to talk about. We got contests coming. We got our weekly shows. We're gonna have a set schedule. Listen, we started off about 6 weeks ago with with the new Tuesday night live sweat on the NBA with our boy James X Nizzle and my boy Jimmy Gomez, another great guy. Two guys that IK I've known for a long time. Jimmy Gomez I just really started knowing this year, and they're great guys, great cappers. We love having them part of the team, and they've done well with that Tuesday night live sweat. So we're going to keep it going, that live sweat, even after NBA is done. And they've been cashing, man. I think it might have been 1 or 2 weeks they didn't cash, and then all the other ones they have. So you guys check them out on Tuesday nights. I know that sometimes the times have been different with games they're doing, especially during the regular season with the NBA. We were doing the late games, and stuff. Now with the playoffs, times are just all different and stuff. That Tuesday night slot's going to stay. And then we got some other things popping up. So, like I said, stay tuned to Who Banging. We got a lot of good things coming up, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy. So, what I'm going to do today is, I'm not going to really go over every game. There's a bunch of games today that are not not games for me, not games I really capped. Weather was a little issue in some parts, and I know a lot of people look for me and DM me a lot about my Met picks, and which I've been doing well again this year. Unfortunately, it's because I'm betting against them, but hey, that's how it goes. But lately, the Mets have been heating up. But what I was going to say is, it's raining outside here. I'm about 7 miles east of Citi Field, and it's raining here in New York. It's supposed to be on and off all day. Not sure, how they're going to do this. The Mets lately have been trying to squeeze games in. They did it a few weeks ago against the Braves in a 5-inning game, which just was brutal, especially if you didn't bet the Braves that game. And just that's the way it is. So the weather might be an issue. I really didn't, I kind of leaned on the under in this Met game, but the Mets bats have been getting hot, man. They have won the last couple of games. They seem to be coming back now with their bats, but their pitching still isn't there. Their starting pitching has not been, as a whole, has not been good. But I do expect Scherzer to have another good outing. He did bounce back his last outing with a good one, where he had a few, he had a suspension, he had an injury, there's been things going on. I really think that pitch clock is screwed up with him. I think that's happened with a lot of pitches. Another one we'll talk about later. Even though I didn't, another one we'll talk about later is like Alex Manoah. He's another one having problems, especially at home. I think that pitch count is a problem. I know that mound is a problem. For him to get used to. He seems like his footing isn't right. I've been talking about this a lot with him also up in Toronto. So a lot of these rule changes I think really had a little bit more to do psychologically with a lot of these guys than we realized. So I guess we got to keep it in mind because now they're starting to get used to it. Now with 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8 starts into a season. They should be getting used to it by now. So I think things will be changing. Listen, it's one of the things I talk about a lot, how I section off MLB for the year. I think that's why I have, I've been having, knock on wood, the last few years have been good for me. But the month of May has been great for me. And I really think it's because I throw out the first couple. Once May 1st hits, the first 2 weeks of baseball are out the window. Once the first week is ended in May, I start from the middle of April, last 30 days, and that's how I go. Now, I do look at the full season, but only for context. I don't really look at it to cap a game, only for maybe to add to something and to see how it's been going. But I'm not a guy who goes full season. Stats. I don't do that. Once it comes to the second half after the All-Star break, I throw out, we can't really say March, right? Because it ends, starts, last few days in March, all these years. But April I throw out, May I throw out, and I even part of June. When by the All-Star break, I'm going from the middle of June on, and then after 2 weeks after the All-Star break, I'm going from July on. Once it gets into September, I'm even narrowing down from the 30 games to 15 games, 10 games. That's how I do it, and I'm going to talk more about that, coming up. Another thing we're going to be doing at Hoop Bangin' Sports is a betting guide, a betting workshop. We've been working on this for a while. I've been working on it for a long time. I get into my own head. I scrapped 3 versions of it and started it over again. And how I'm doing it now is just, which I should have done from the beginning, just the way I talk to you guys, how we talk about sports betting, how we talk about handicapping. That's how I'm going to do these sports betting videos. And that's how we're going to do our workshops. And and you'll see what we mean. I'm here to help everybody out. I know a lot of new players are coming up, and it's for us to help them. Listen, I'm not saying I'm some great handicapper. I mean, I hold my own, but a lot of us hold our own. Yes, do a little bit better in MLB, but so do a lot of us. But what I could help with people is from the experience, man. We've made a lot of mistakes over the years. It cost us a lot of money that you young guys don't need to do. You got more available to you. You got more tools available. And it's just a whole different ball game from when we started out sports gambling. So I think guys, like myself, like Big Rigo, like DJ Big Boss, Tease, the crew that hang out with Wham, we could, we've made those mistakes, and we could help out a lot of guys with that. So those betting workshops will be, part of that stuff. And that we're going to have a live one in the middle of June. I forget the date exactly, but we'll be coming up. The last thing I'll talk about as far as housekeeping is WNBA is back. That means our boy Tease is back. Parlay Tease, well, he never went anywhere, but he's back for the WNBA season. Listen, the guy just knows his WNBA. He's a good college basketball capper, and I think that correlates into WNBA because the WNBA to me plays more like a college game than the me one-on-one NBA game that it's just me personally. I just don't watch it. I can't stand it. It's something I watched and dealt with for years and years and years, and it turned me off over the last 4 or 5 years. But the WNBA, man, they play team ball, and Tease is good at that WNBA. So his show started yesterday on Friday, but he'll be on 3:45 Eastern Time, 12:45 Pacific Time, every day, Monday through Friday. Now, I know at the beginning of the WNBA season, it starts off very light. I believe there's no game on Monday. There's only a few games next week on a few days. But he'll be there. He'll be he'll be capping those WNBA games, and I'll tell you, he's the one to go with. And I'm gonna try to get him on if I could get his ass out of bed early on a Saturday morning and get him to come on with us and give us some some picks for that also. Shout out to my boys in the chat. There's my boy Don Play. How you doing, Don? Yeah, man. Corbin's pitching today. He screwed up a lot of people's handicap the last few games. He's been pitching better. I mean that guy. I'll tell you, you got to give that guy credit. He had that big contract which he never lived up to. He's been hurt. He's been he's gotten shelled. Last year, this year, he's had negative media attention. For a long time, and the guy still goes out there, still does his thing. He's been pitching pretty decent. So. And the Nats, they ain't the doormats, man. Those Nats are going to be that spoiler type team all year long. They hit the ball pretty well. They're not terrible, and they have a couple glaring holes. But hell, who doesn't? Like I talked about my Mets. So I'll tell you something about those Nationals that I think we should keep our eye on. And I'm not on that game today, but if you told me I needed to make a play, it would definitely be on Washington. Then of course, let me say hello to my friend, good dear friend, Uncle Avery. We call him, our man down in North Carolina, 1833NC. How you doing, Avery? It's been a while. We haven't seen each other. Hopefully within the next few months, we'll be back down in Las Vegas. Last time I was with Avery was last August in at the I can't believe I forgot it, at the Orleans. We always go to the same place, and I'm forgetting the name. And it's always great to hang out with it. Talk about a knowledgeable man about sports. He's been around a little while. He has only a few years on me. So we're the I like to be with I'm from the older connection with those guys. So shout out to Avery and all his boys down in North Carolina. Let's get started with today. So, raining over here in like I said, in New York. It's raining. Let's see what happens with this game, with this Met game. I'll tell you, the Mets bats have been hitting. They came back against the Rays 8-0 the other night and won the game. They were down 5-0 yesterday, 4-0 or 5-1 before the onslaught started. They ended up a grand slam homer by Pete Alonso, who is the home run leader right now in baseball, to tie up the game. Then the pitching gives up a 2-run homer. Was it a 2-runner in the 10th inning? And the Mets come back and win the game. Lindor with a walk-off single scoring that run in. But here's the Mets' problem, and it's something I talked about last Sunday. I jumped on with Wham when he was doing a live last Sunday. I know a lot of guys like those Nerfies. It's something I don't play. I don't play the yes. I don't play the no. But I'll tell you, the Mets are a good team to play yes. They are outscored in the first inning, day in and day out. They are getting outscored, and they're being outscored early in games, day in and day out. It's unbelievable how even in a loss last week, they were down 8-0 twice against Tampa Bay. They scored 5 runs late, lost the game 8-5. Next night, win 9-8. Last night, they scored another 9 runs. But the pitching hasn't been there, and that's what the issue has been. Now, Carrasco again. Carrasco, even in his best starts, have given up runs in his first inning. Keep that in mind, guys. He gave up a 3-run homer to Naylor yesterday, right off the bat. It's amazing. The whole Guardians, what's going on with the Guardians is another story. But just to keep it in mind, if you like those Nerfies, and if you like those yes runs in the first innings, the Mets were a pretty good look to look at. We'll see if it keeps on going. Even those double results, which I only play very rarely. Yesterday I did play one with the Astros because I got a plus 105, and the Astros were a big favorite. But I was able to get a plus 105 with the double result that they win the first 5 and win the full game. But the Mets, I'll tell you, when you have if you look at those double results, there's some big odds. If you put the other team first, like yesterday, the Guardians win the first 5. Mets win the game. Those odds were big. Same with the other night with Tampa winning the first 5 and the Mets winning the game. Those odds were big. Sometimes you see a plus 1100 on those, or if you see a tie and a win, it's in the 500-600. So keep an eye on that double result. I don't know if everybody has it. I know Bet US does have a double result. I know Bet Online does have a double result, and those really the two books I use mostly. More and more and more, I go back to the offshores. The lines are better, guys. The DraftKings, FanDuels are not doing you any favor in general. Of course, there's always situations where they got the better lines, but I'll tell you, those two guys, Bet Online and Bet US, when it comes to MLB, even in college basketball was the same. I'm getting some favorable lines, and so that's why I use them. I'm not big on putting out, doing. A lot of guys ask me to do, to record a show. A couple of companies ask me to work for them, which I'm a who banging guy. It's all about our team. I'm not going anywhere else, but they wanted me to do, and I don't cap this way. I'm not capping the night before. I don't cap those lines that they first come out, and I'm putting out bets. I know that in the norm, that's the way it's supposed to be. You got to get the best line. That's just not the way I cap. I cap. I'm a grinder. I need to see how the lines are moving. I need to see what I need to see the results of what happened. Games. I'm not just playing numbers. I know some of the sharpest bettors out there are just playing numbers. That's just not me. That's not how I do it. So I'm not going to give you lines that you can't get. I'm not going to be putting out lines that came out for 2 minutes last night, and now today you can't get them. That's just not the way I do it. So these games that I bet, I got 4 bets for you. They were all out bet this morning. Within the last few hours, I probably bet them 7, 8 o'clock this morning. Like I said, I'm on the East Coast, so that's how I do it. Good or bad. Listen. The way I cap and the way I like to talk about gambling is the way we get. These guys are talking about, giving out plays that are, minus 200, minus 220 as their best bets. And then they're throwing in that line, well, if you took this minus 220, 10 games and you won 7 of them and, all that probability nonsense. Listen, yes, it's true. That math works out to be that way. Who bets like that? We don't, not the regular guys. Half of us don't even bet with bankrolls. I mean, Jesus, you want the truth of the matter is I didn't start betting with a bankroll till 2 years ago. So, even though guys talk about this, they talk about that, that's not how we gamble. That's not how we bet. And, so I try to keep it from that approach. So, that's how I do it. RVD 420. How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man. Thanks for joining me on 520. So, anyway, enough of my rambling about gambling. We'll be doing plenty of that coming up. Let's talk about some of the games that I did bet. Anybody want to know anything about any games that you're on? Let me know. I'll see what I could come up with for you. But the first game I'm on is the Miami Marlins against San Francisco. I took the under 8 at minus 120. Garrett against Webb. Garrett the lefty has, he had that injury at the beginning of the season, and he's pitched well lately. I like him. I like Garrett. I think he's a good pitcher. Like I said, he's been coming on. The Marlins aren't the best, and this is why I bet the under 2. The Marlins aren't the best versus righty, and in May they're 22nd. Their team OPS is 22nd versus righties in May, 21st versus ISO, and that was before yesterday's game, so the numbers might have changed a tad, but you get the point. And the Giants struggle against righties in May. Struggle against righties in May, and against lefties they've been okay, but they haven't been. They've been about mid-level. So I went with the Marlins. Last game, Garrett, 5 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. Didn't let up any home runs. Let up 1 walk. And like I said, Miami hasn't been hitting all season. But the Giants, Webb has been on fire. Webb's a good pitcher. He's been good in May. His ground ball to fly ball ratio is 40-24. That's good, man. He's keeping that ball on the ground. He's keeping that ball in the park. And even though there's a little weather that's blowing out to center at the stadium, that was in Giant Stadium. That was the same yesterday, and it didn't go over. And I'm keeping the under again today. Back to Logan Webb. In his last 2 games, 21. His last, let's see, his last few games, 7 innings. He's been averaging like 7 innings, so he's been doing quality starts. He's had 2 runs or less in his last 2 starts in May, and his last 2 starts in May was 7 innings each, average 2 runs or less, and he has pitched 21 and 2/3 innings in May, so he's pitching well. So I like that under 8. I took it minus 120, juice to the under. Let's see if there's any. If I could get the splits up quick, I'll let you know as we're going along. With the what I get is the DraftKings splits for the all the DraftKings, which is they're in like 30 states now or something, and they do a combined thing. Consensus, and those numbers pretty much, I compare them to like Odds Trader and compare them to different guys and stuff. And listen, these numbers tell you the same thing. The percentages might be off a few percent here and there, but the numbers still tell you the same thing. If I tell you something 72% on the handle is 72%, and if someone else says it was 74%, 75%, doesn't it tell you the same? Right? It tells you the same. So think of it that way. Today, let's see. Let me see if I do this like a professional, where I don't get my face out of the camera. I mean, you guys don't want to miss that face, right? Today, Miami's. Let's see. The over and under is to the over. 42% of the 54% of the bets, but only 42% of the handle is on the over. And 46% of the bets and 58% of the handle is on the under. So that bodes kind of well. It was juiced at 8. It's probably going to go down to 7.5. That's the game I took. Next game, Dodgers against the Cardinals. I tell you, the Cardinals are such a weird team. I remember talking the other day to my friend Big Ragu, and you know how some of these teams are always like a thorn on our side. We just can't catch them right, and the Cards has been his thorn these last few weeks. It happens, man. There's just certain teams you can't get right, and so we were talking about that with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are that type of team too. That's hard to get right in general. They've just been up and down. They do, they go in spurts. They go in these big home run spurts, these big scoring spurts, and then they don't. Now today, if you looked immediately firsthand looking at this game, I'll tell you right off the bat, I bet the under in this game, and I know first off people would be thinking right off the bat on paper is to bet the over, and I'll tell you, I know Syndergaard. And I know, like Nicholas, and we know what they've been doing this year. But if you look a little bit deeper into it, Nicholas had his 2 best starts. His last 2 has been his best. He has been pitching well at home. His career in general at home has been, he's been good. He's ground ball dependent. He's, he does have a high BABIP at Busch. And I see him, getting better and better as the year goes on. He does have a 4.91 ERA, but his xFIP, which the xFIP is one of those things I like to look at. I'm not a big ERA. I like looking at team ERAs and things like that, but individually, it's not. But Nicholas 4.91 ERA, but a 4.36 xFIP. So he's starting to, get a little better and better, as they like the term that I hate, positive regression. But that's what's happening with him. Same as Syndergaard. I've always liked Syndergaard. He's an ex-Met. He just never seemed to. I don't know what was happening. He got injured a lot, in New York, and maybe he just wanted out and wanted to go, elsewhere. But he got bounced around a little bit. He's settling with the Dodgers. They kind of don't know what to do with him. He's come out of the pen. He started games. So it's been a little bit tough for him to settle into a position. They kind of use him as like a utility pitcher, if you will. He has a 5.94 ERA, but again, his xFIP is 4.42. So that's a bit of a drop. And I think these guys are going to pitch good today. Noah's last outing, 4 innings, 2 runs, 5 Ks, not bad. Let's see. What did if I have anything on Michaelis? His last 2 starts against the Cubs, 4 in the third innings. He was a little wild in that game, if I remember, but he had 1 earned run and still 7 Ks, but he was a little bit off the mark, and why he only pitched at 4 in the third innings. Against the Red Sox, I believe last Sunday night, he pitched 6 innings, only allowed that 1 run. So I took the under in this game with the what the hell line did I take? Under 9.5 minus 115. I wasn't sure what that was. So yes, Dodgers Cardinals under 9.5 minus 115. Let's see if we get that home. If it wasn't 9.5, I probably would have let go. And now Don Play saying he sees an under 9 plus 102. So it looks like I caught a good number then at 9.5. I never mind. Listen. I'll take that 9.5 minus 115 against a 9 plus 102. If I had a choice, I'll take that number every time. I don't bet enough money where, if I'm betting 1,000 a game, then yeah, 500 a game, yeah, 200 a game, yeah, that matters. But when you're not, you got to take a look at that sometimes. I know everybody wants to get the best price. Everybody wants to get the best line. Does it really matter if you're playing $100 a game, if it's a $10 difference? I know, yes, it adds up, but sometimes it's just not enough to take me off a game. So, that's just me. That's something, that something I'm going to talk a little bit deeper about, when it comes, in another part. But that's just the way I do it. But I did take the under 9.5. The last game I took, and I took 2 bets on this game, and that is. And this is the Twins against the Angels. Both these teams are strange teams, man. They seem to both be when you think they're really going to be doing good. They start getting that good press, kind of like what the White Sox and the Brewers do. They get that good press, and all of a sudden they turn in the other direction. But the Angels have been coming on strong. They had a rough little start in April. In May they've been coming on strong. I like the Angels in this game. The Twins, they're not hitting the lefties in May. They're number 19. Team OPS is 19th. So they're above they're outside the top half of baseball. They're 28th in ISO, and this is in their league, in the American League. And they have a high K rate. They strike out a lot, the Twins. Varland, 6 runs in 23 innings, 2 home runs versus the he had 6 runs and 2 homers versus the Cubs his last out. His K rate is okay, but it's not great. This Angel team has heated up in the last few weeks. They are hitting lefties well. Sandoval has pitched a little bit better and better. The Twins' pen has a high Sierra, and they're gonna start giving up a lot of runs. Another pen to keep your eye out, as you noticed. These last 4 or 5 games is Tampa Bay. Their pen is starting to blow up left and right, and keep that in mind. But with the Twins' pen not being the greatest, the Angels are hitting lefties. I don't like Varland, and I took the Angels minus 117. I also took the over 8.5 minus 120. Both teams can hit the ball though. Both teams do score some runs. I tell you one thing about the Twins that's a positive. They have a plus 41 run differential. LA has a plus 9, so they both are plus. Twins team batting average is 230. Angels is 262 with an OPS of 751 though, and the Twins OPS 714. The Twins are allowing around almost 4 runs per game, and the Angels are allowing a lot of runs per game. So they've been high scoring affairs, but I like the Angels minus 117, and I like the over 8.5 minus 120. So those are my picks. I have the Dodgers Cardinals under 9.5. I have that minus 115. I got the Angels under 8.5 minus 120. I have the Angels minus 117. I got Miami and San Francisco under 8 minus 120. A lean of mine today is, which the team totals weren't out when I started this. The a lean I have is Baltimore's team total over. Yesterday it was 4. I hit on that game. I mentioned Manoah at the beginning of the broadcast, and he's the reason why I like. I'll tell you, Baltimore at that plus price today is not a bad pick either. Let's see where we get where those money splits are on that game. Baltimore's not a bad play. I wouldn't talk you out of taking them. I just don't like. I don't know. There's something about this game today. I could see some runs being scored, and Manoah just has a problem with that mound. They did a lot of work at that stadium in Toronto. We know how Toronto had to play a lot of games on the road to start the season. It's a new mound. These pitchers are creatures of habit. Between the new mound, the new pitch clock, the new rules, it's affected Manoah, and he has not hit well at home. He's not pitched well at home at all, and it's something. And Baltimore has been, listen, they've been winning a lot of games. They are the team. I don't think that everybody's big on the Pirates. The Cubs are going to come in and out. They're good. They're not good. They had a good win yesterday, the Cubs, but Baltimore seems to be legit. Out of all those second tier type teams that were coming on strong at the end of last year, Baltimore seems to be on the money. Let's see what we get for. Let's see what we could find out on this line. Baltimore money line. Let's see. Okay, that's the run line. Okay, Toronto at a minus 140. They have 61% of the bets, 54% of the cash. Now, Baltimore, which was plus 135 before, now I'm seeing plus 120s. I'm seeing numbers all over the place, actually, on this game. But DraftKings has it now at plus 120, 39% of the bets, 46% of the handle. And with the over, 57% of the bets, 80% of the cash is on the over 9.5. I don't like taking overs in 9.5s. I don't take those kind of bets, but I will take that Baltimore team total, and probably after the show's over. My Twitter is Dom at 541 DommyGun Rici. I'll have my plays posted on there and any other plays that I bet today. So that's how we're gonna do it. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, listen, Don, I took the 9.5. Of course, the 9 it could be a push or a loss, but yes, I mean, if the 9 was out there, I would have took the 9. If I didn't see the 9.5, I would have took the 9. It's for all the same reasons. I mean, I don't bet a game where I bet a game where it's such a, if I'm going to bet a 9.5, there's a good chance on under. I'll take the 9. I won't take the 8.5, but there's a good chance that I would take the 9. I mean, I have to have more confidence in my bet that, even I would bet it as a push. Of course, you like the extra, the extra little juice. But yeah, Don, I would 100%. Let me give you a little housekeeping, a few things that that we might not be aware of. Just quickly, first of all, as far as ATS. Check out these systems trends. These are listen. I follow a lot of these system trends. Some of these that were really good last year, and they continue to be good this year. First of all, before I start that, these Detroit Tigers, they're unbelievable. They have been winning. They won again now yesterday against the Nationals. Right? They are winning these interleague games that are unbelievable. Do you know since 2020, which was our COVID year, and we had 60-something games, and then we had the last 2 years with we had 384 games between 2020 and the start of this year. The best interleague team in that stretch with a 57% win rate were the Tigers, 33-25 going into this year as an interleague team, winning interleague games. And if you look at this year with the Tigers, they came in early in the year. They went to the Astros. They beat up in the Astros. They beat up. They won against the Mets? There was a few teams that they won right off the bat. Detroit, and it was the Mets. They beat the Mets. They beat the Astros. They beat the Nationals yesterday. If you look at their interleague games, and they're a plus in a lot of those games, they're winning those games. It's Why? I don't know, because they've never been a juggernaut in all these years, right? They haven't been good in any of these years, but for some reason, and that's why these stats sometimes are crazy. I can't even quantify it. Is it a coincidence? I don't know, but it's a true stat, and it's been working. So hell, do we have to have a reason every time? We need we don't need to always have a good reason, right? I like to try to figure out a reason why something is going on, but geez, something like that, how could you quantify? And as I'm on the interleague thing, I don't know about this year yet. I'm going to look it up after this. After this, as a matter of fact, and we'll talk about it next year. The worst interleague team is the Pirates against the American League, 17-43. If you was better, you'd be down like 21 units if you bet every time the Pirates played the AL over those last 3 years. So that's interesting. A couple of other things in those regular seasons, those from 2020 till beginning of this year. The Dodgers were the worst road underdog. Thursdays have been the Nats have lost the most games on Thursdays. The Baltimore Orioles have won the most games on Mondays, and this year they've won, I think, 3 out of 4 Monday games, or 3 out of 4. I cashed 2 of them only because I liked them that day, but they have been winning on Mondays. It's bizarre why. Following a loss, here's the last one I'm going to give you, and this year, if I go back, I could think of one time where they lost back-to-backs. That's another team that's starting to heat up, and that's the New York Yankees. But if I told you, if I made you guess who's the worst team following a loss in that stretch, it was the Yankees. I bet a lot of people weren't going to come up with that one with the Yankees. 77-81 to start of this season. You would be down like 38 units if you bet them, because those. Even though it's 77-81, there's only 5-game difference. You're talking about. Some of those games are minus 200, 250, some big Yankee numbers over that stretch. So I just thought those were kind of interesting to talk about. Any more really good, any good ones? Division, best record in that stretch, and it's holding up again this year, is Tampa Bay versus their division, AL East. 120-72 coming into this year. So some numbers are good to know. And here, let me just give you 4. And these are the numbers that are going. This is for this year. Forget about all those last few years. Let's go with non-division road favorites. Now, keep this in mind. The familiarity is not there, and it's a system that keeps on winning and winning, and that's non-division road favorites. Not counting yesterday. My numbers were up until. I didn't figure in yesterday's games into these numbers. Non-division road favorites, 102-69, 60% win rate. Non-division road favorites off a win, 153-90. I love this one. 153-90, 63% win rate. Both teams with 1 day off rest. The favorite is 40-22. So both teams have the 1 day off rest. The favorite is winning first game back with both teams over 1 day rest. 40-22, 65%. Now a lot of favorites are involved in that stat. Your ROI would be about 8%, but hell, and like I talked about before, I know we don't all bet these games. Like, you're not going to bet every non-division road favorite, right? And you're not going to bet every team off those day rests. But it's another box to check. I try to check the boxes as I'm doing my cap, and again, I'll talk about that more when I start talking about in the workshops and stuff. But it's another box to check off. And if you keep these 5 to 6 numbers down with you and use these as one of your checkoffs, I think you'll thank me in the long run. A few more I have. A home favorite off a win. If this 10-cent steam, right? A 10-cent move at least with the home favorite who won yesterday. They are hitting at a 69% win rate. 62-28 this year. Wow. That's big. That's big. The ROI is like almost 13% on that also. Non-division favorites off okay, that was home favorites off a win with 10-cent steam. Non-division favorites off a win, 63%. So listen, favorites off a win are, if it's non-division, they're hitting 63%. If you get the 10% steam, you get 69%. There's my boy Jimmy Gomez. Jimmy, you go back to the beginning of the show later on. You just hear the first 5 minutes how I had to shout you out in my introduction. I love my boy Jimmy Gomez. I'm glad that we became friends this year, man. Like I mentioned before, another great Kappa. We love having. That's also a Who Banger, man. We have the mix. We got the old guys, old G's as they affectionately call us, which I love. Which Dutch Boy Fresh gave me that name, OG, and it's kept with me, man. We got the young guns too, and we all come at these games from, and we all have different ways we handicap. That's why I said we got the right team, we got the right, additions. Like this year, we just, we got Guillermo Zutucci with us now. We're gonna start, we're gonna figure out a way where we can get some horse racing shows with him coming on. The man knows his horse racing. Besides, he's generally a good Kappa, really good in NFL. But we're gonna get him. We got Nasty 8. I mean, Nasty's been an OG for a long time, so we know him. Wham, Big Ragu. LJ from H Town is always on that. Always is part of our crew. Always with the chat. In the chat, part of our crew. Dave Picks, Dave Rogers. All these guys. Little by little, we're growing the team. DJ Big Boss, myself, Big Ragu. We've been working on this for a while. Tease, right? So. Keep that all in mind. But let's get back to you. Threw me off, Jimmy. Yes, sir. Who banging? Team Who banging, my brother. All right, so I get your home favorites off a win, 10%, 69%. Non-division favorites off a win, 63%. And that's what I got for you. That's what I got for you. Those kind of numbers. Keep in mind, man, this non-division road favorites stayed in that 60 to 63% range. It got up to 65, maybe even 66% last year, but only for a week or two. But it's been in that 60%, low 60% range all of last year, and this year it's been steady also. Non-division road favorites, 102 and 69. Non-division road favorites off a win, 153 and 90, 63%. They've been working. So, that's how it goes. Top ERA, let's do a couple more top ERA just to keep in mind. The Houston Astros do have the top ERA. They're tied now for team ERA with the Tampa Bay. Houston's bullpen has been trash. Houston's been that kind of a weird team. But again, it's the beginning of the year. People love to, recency bias is such a big thing in sports betting that's the first thing. If you have a hole in your game, that's the game. That's the hole you need to fill first, is that recency bias. But the Astros have given up 144 earned runs. Tampa Bay 150 earned runs with 387 strikeouts. So Tampa Bay's been on the money. The top teams ERA: Houston, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Atlanta, and then the Mariners. Those are the top fives. The worst, as we could expect, Oakland 7.08 ERA, Kansas City 5.20, White Sox 5.15, Reds 5.09. Boston Red Sox 4.91. Boston's another team, guys, you got to keep looking at. Boston numbers are a little skewed, and if you break down their home and their away numbers, you'll see why. Their home numbers have really affected their good numbers, and why they have good numbers all around has mostly to do with how they're playing at home. On the road, they're not, and I think some people tend to forget those kind of things. And they go with teams sometimes when they go on the road, just, even against teams that aren't as good as they are, you think, because they're not looking into those home and road splits. They mean a lot. Teams play different on the road than they play at home. Some play better on the road, some don't, but they play different. Same with interleague, and this is why, like, these non-divisions, less familiarity with a non-division team. Division teams play a lot each other, especially in the past. Now, this year, they cut it down a little bit. So, again, the new rules affecting things. things we need to keep in mind. But teams like the Red Sox is really why you have to watch, and Pirates too. Like now, the Pirates had a big win yesterday, but they haven't been playing well at all. The Pirates, they've been in May they've been pretty bad. And if you don't, and I had a lot of wins in the last few weeks against the Pirates, but if I didn't throw out those first couple of weeks, like I talked about before, I wouldn't be on those Pirates. So things all come. This thing helps that thing, and it all gels into one picture, and that's how I try to come up with my plays. So just to give you a little insight on the way, on how I bet in some different fashions. Okay, so we got the plays for today. We talked a little bit about the ATS. We talked a little bit about situational system picks. We talked a little bit about what's been going on for the last few years in baseball. Some teams we got to look out. Teams are starting to change now. Like I say, recency bias. Watch out for. Let's hopefully we get this Met game in. Right now it stopped raining. It was raining before. Now it stopped raining. So we'll see what happens. Shout out to my grandsons who are watching from home. Lucas, Dominic, and little Adrian is going to be 3 years old on Monday. So shout out to my boys. Always watching Pops on the YouTube. And they say they call it Pop's working, Oh, look at Pop, he's working. Yeah. Little do they know that it really is work, But the sports gambling is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But anyhow, let me get out of here. Because you know me, I could ramble and gamble, all day long. But I appreciate everybody coming in. I appreciate the love. Maybe we'll do something tomorrow. Let me talk to the boys. Maybe we'll come on tomorrow. I'm going to start trying to get more baseball shows coming. Probably next one I'll do will be Thursday in the morning at 10 a.m. And like I said, Tuesday nights, we got the live sweat with Nizzle and Jimmy Gomez. We're putting together a couple of other shows, a couple other nights. And like I said, Team Who Bangin' is on the rise. June is going to be a big month. We got contests starting. We got shows starting. We got a betting workshop starting. We got a lot of things going on. So, Who Bangin' Sports Talk, as you can see, just a little something. I for those of you that watched me before, I have my Rangers poster back up on top. As you can see right there, but after their disappointing and pitiful first round entry, I had to take my Who Bangin' hat and just cover them up until next hockey season. Disappointment for the record, that was a bad 3-unit loss for me on that series, minus 105. I haven't put 3 units on a series in a long time, and it'll be a long time since I do it again, because boy, oh boy, I don't even want to get started with the Rangers. I'll be on for another 2 hours. But anyhow, let me get out of here. This is, this wouldn't be Light It Up unless we light it up. So, join me again next week at 10 a.m. for Light It Up. Until then, this is your boy, DommyGun Rici, signing out. Thank you for showing up, guys.